Canadian rockers Big Wreck announced the details of the new album. Nine Inch Nails returned with the first song from the Tron Ares soundtrack, and we say goodbye to one of the most iconic names in the world of rock music, Mr. Ozzy Osbourne, on this edition of the Rock News Roundup Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rock News Roundup Podcast, your destination for the latest in rock music news, reviews, and discussion right here on the Nick Chino Music YouTube channel. I'm your host, Mr. Nick Chino. We got the mics on, we got the devil horns up, and we're here to talk about the latest and greatest in rock music news. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, I'd really appreciate it if you gave this video and this podcast a thumbs up and a like. Would really appreciate that. Make sure to smash the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos, and make sure to share this video online with your friends and fellow rock fans. And you can also listen to this podcast as an audio only edition on Spotify and Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you are on those platforms, I'd very much appreciate a rating and review. You can follow me on social media at Nick Chino Music. And if you are watching this on YouTube, make sure to check out my latest video that I uploaded to the channel this past weekend, my rock album review for the new album from Bush called I Beat Loneliness. I don't want to spoil it too much, but I did not love this record. Despite loving Gavin Rossdale and some of Bush's past material, did not love this new record from Bush. So you can check out that full rock album review and all my thoughts right now up now on the YouTube channel. But let's get to our top three headliner topics on this edition of the Rock News Roundup Podcast. Big Wreck, one of my favorite Canadian bands, announced their new album. The Rest of the Story is going to be coming out very soon. Nine Inch Nails have made their return with the first new song from the upcoming Tron Ares soundtrack. But we're going to kick off this episode of the show with some very, very sad news in the world of music, and that is Ozzy Osbourne, the legendary singer of Black Sabbath and solo artist and pop culture icon, has passed away at the age of 76. And from every article I've read, it said he's been surrounded by family and loved ones in his final moments. Let's take a look at this article from Exclaim. Ozzy Osbourne has passed away at the age of 76. One of the most iconic names in the world of rock music. You know, I've said this before on the show that a lot of celebrities die and a lot of big famous names die from time to time, but not all of them have the impact and the heaviness of a name like Ozzy Osbourne. I would venture to say that when we lost Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys a few weeks ago, that was in similar vein to this, of just being an iconic name, not just a musician, not just a celebrity, but an icon. And Ozzy Osbourne was most definitely an icon in every sense of the word. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2019. He's had some health problems over the years, mixed with, his rock and roll lifestyle. If there was any musician out there that we know lived the rock and roll lifestyle to the fullest, it was most definitely Ozzy Osbourne. So he's had his battles over the years, and 76 years old is still pretty young. But Ozzy Osbourne is one of those guys that lived life to the fullest, and it sounds like he was surrounded by his family, his wife Sharon, as well as his kids, and lots of family when he passed away, which is really the way you want to go, surrounded by family on your own terms. And Black Sabbath just played their final show back to the beginning in their hometown of Birmingham with an all-star lineup just a few weeks ago. So Ozzy Osbourne was on stage singing some solo songs. He was reunited with Black Sabbath, and really, he went out on his own terms, right? He played this epic final show in his hometown with all of his friends there, all of his family there, feeling the love of the fans and everybody who loved him, being able to sing those songs before leaving this earth. It's just, it's kind of the way that we all want to go. We all want to go on our own terms. And Ozzy Osbourne just leaves this incredible legacy of music, obviously kicking things off with Black Sabbath back in the late 60s. And Black Sabbath weren't just a band. They were pioneers of British metal. They were pioneers of a genre, and they inspired a generation of bands to rock harder than ever before. Like once bands like Black Sabbath, and I said this before, the top four bands that I consider to be the big game changers in the world of rock music in the late 60s, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, and Deep Purple. Like Black Sabbath were on the forefront of creating modern rock, right? There's so many bands, not just the bands that came immediately after them, or the bands that, came generations after them. The influence of Black Sabbath is just something that continues to reverberate to this very day. And then Ozzy Osbourne, after he left Black Sabbath, had an incredible second act with his solo career in the 80s, well into the modern day, with hits like Crazy Train and Bark at the Moon and Mama, I'm Coming Home. So he had all this success in these hits with Black Sabbath, but then arguably his solo career was even bigger than that once he went solo, and he continued to do that right through up until he passed away. Like, he was still putting out music a couple of years ago. He put out the Ordinary Man album in 2020. He put out Patient Number 9 in 2022. So he was still staying creative and relevant to the very end. Even if he couldn't get out on the road like he used to, he was doing what he does, which was make music, write songs, sing songs. And it's just incredible that he was doing what he was doing as long as he was. And then when you think about the 2000s, right? When the TV show The Osbournes came out, the reality show that he did with his family, then he had a third act. He was not just a musical icon at that time. Then he became a pop culture icon, right? And so the Osbourne name, started to spread, right? Not just his fame, but his family's fame, and that name really held a lot of power and a lot of relevance for a lot of years. And so it's just crazy that he had this incredible career, that he was able to sustain his career for so long through so many hardships and so many troubles, obviously addiction issues, different things that he had to go through in his life with his health issues. Ozzy Osbourne was a true pioneer, a true survivor, and a true rock and roller through and through. The guy just lived and breathed rock and roll music and heavy metal. And it's really just such a loss for the world of rock music. But I just wanted to kind of pull up some of these online reactions from some of the rockers and people that knew him well, mostly from his fellow Black Sabbath band members. So Geezer Butler went on X and he said, "Goodbye, dear friend. Thanks for all those years. We had some great fun. 4 kids from Aston. Who would have thought, eh? So glad that we got to do it one last time back in Aston. Love you." That's from a Black Sabbath bass player Geezer Butler. Tony Iommi, the guitar player from Black Sabbath. "I just can't believe it. My dear, dear friend Ozzy has passed away only weeks after our show at Villa Park. It's just such heartbreaking news that I can't really find the words. There won't ever be another like him. Geezer, Bill, and myself have lost our brother." And also this from Black Sabbath drummer Bill Ward, who he wasn't with Sabbath the last time they did their final show back in 2017, but he was there with them for this final reunion show at the Back to the Beginning show a few weeks ago. And Bill Ward says, "Where will I find you now? In the memories, our unspoken embraces, our missed phone calls. No, you're forever in my heart. Deepest condolences to Sharon and all family members. Rest in peace. Sincere regrets to all the fans. Never goodbye. Thank you forever, Bill Ward." So those 3 tweets coming from Ozzy's Black Sabbath bandmates, who thankfully they got to reunite. Like, that's an amazing thing that they got to reunite and do the Black Sabbath thing one more time before Ozzy passed away. That is amazing. And then some other big names in rock, Metallica, who played at the Back to the Beginning show in Birmingham a few weeks ago. They said on Twitter, "Ozzy, rest in peace. It's impossible to put into words what Ozzy Osbourne has meant to Metallica. Hero, icon, pioneer, inspiration, mentor, and most of all, friend are a few that come to mind. Ozzy and Sharon believed in us and transformed our lives and careers. He taught us how to play in the big leagues while at the same time being warm, welcoming, engaging, and all around brilliant." So that coming from Metallica, really one of the bands that owes a huge debt to Black Sabbath and to Ozzy Osbourne for creating metal and following in their footsteps. Foo Fighters went online. They said, "Rest in peace, Ozzy, and thank you for a lifetime of inspiration. Rock and roll would not be as loud or as fun without you. You'll be forever missed. Our deepest condolences to the entire Osbourne and Sabbath family." And then, different people, Tom Morello, Wolfgang Van Halen, pretty much everybody in the world of rock music went online to share their memories and condolences about Ozzy Osbourne. And really, like I said, when it comes to icons, they don't get any bigger than Ozzy Osbourne. He is a titan. His name is a titan, an icon in the world of rock music. And when I think to some of my favorite Sabbath tracks, I'm thinking about the major ones. I wouldn't say that I'm a hardcore, deep Black Sabbath fan, but I love all the songs that everybody else loves: Sweet Leaf, Iron Man, Paranoid, all those songs, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, a lot of awesome Black Sabbath songs. But I love his solo stuff as well. I love Mama, I'm Coming Home, Crazy Train, Bark at the Moon. When I was working in FM rock radio here in Hamilton, we played a lot of Ozzy, probably more solo Ozzy than we played actual Black Sabbath songs. So many favorites, such a loss to the world of rock music. And really, like I said, it doesn't get any bigger. It doesn't get any more iconic than the name Ozzy Osbourne. So he will be missed in the world of rock music. His family, his friends, and the fans, we're all going to miss him very, very much. Just like Brian Wilson, who we lost a bunch of weeks ago. This is a huge loss to the world of rock music. And yeah, rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne, an icon, a pioneer. And the world of rock would not be where it is without the music and the voice of Ozzy Osbourne. So rest in peace. So guys, hop in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts and memories of Ozzy Osbourne, your favorite songs in the comments below, and let me know what you thought of this, or think of your general thoughts of this incredible pioneer. But let's get to the next headliner topic on this edition of the Rock News Roundup podcast, and that is Nine Inch Nails have made their return with their first new music since 2020. The new single, As Alive as You Need Me to Be, was just released from the upcoming soundtrack that they're doing to the movie Tron Ares, the third Tron movie, the follow-up to the 80s classic in 2010's Tron Legacy. The album, the soundtrack, is going to come out on September the 19th, and then the movie itself, Tron Ares, with Jared Leto in the lead role, comes out on October the 10th. Now, if you've heard this new single, As Alive as You Need Me to Be, like, this is the perfect mix of Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails, and Tron. It's just the perfect mix of the two sounds of those entities. And obviously it makes sense that Nine Inch Nails would do a Tron soundtrack, because they're one of the greatest bands, not just in industrial and rock, but like electronic music, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. So this is a very cinematic song that has a great vocal from Trent Reznor. I love hearing his voice, because I feel like he has that signature snarl, and he still continues to be a great vocalist and add that iconic voice to every Nine Inch Nails song. And then it's a big thing to follow up, because the last people that did the soundtrack for Tron Legacy in 2010 was Daft Punk, who are one of the best electronic dance bands out there. So Nine Inch Nails have their work cut out for them to follow up Daft Punk with another iconic Tron soundtrack. But I do feel like this is a really great pairing, having the electronic world of Tron and the grid with the music of Nine Inch Nails. So this new soundtrack is going to feature 24 tracks. So it's going to have kind of both elements of it. It's going to have a score. It's going to have original songs as like this new single, As Alive as You Need Me to Be. So we're going to get some more of the soundtrack side of things, because obviously Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross have been very active doing soundtracks over the last decade or so. Like, they started out pretty slow. They did the Social Network soundtrack back in 2010, which is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. But then they've continued to do a lot of soundtracks, more so than Nine Inch Nails over the last decade or so. So they did the Gone Girl soundtrack, Bird Box. They did the soundtrack for the Watchmen series on HBO. They did the soundtrack for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, the animated movie, which came out a couple of years ago, which I really loved. That was a great movie. They did the soundtrack for Challengers. That movie was Zendaya that came out last year. So they've stayed very busy with doing soundtracks, more so than Nine Inch Nails. There has been some Nine Inch Nails stuff over the last couple of years. I think the last thing they put out was Ghost 6 Locusts in 2020, but there hasn't really been so much of a traditional Nine Inch Nails album. I think Hesitation Marks, which came out in 2013, was probably their most traditional album. Then they released a series of EPs alongside doing these different soundtracks. But this is the first kind of full-fledged Nine Inch Nails album that we've gotten from them in a while. This is the first soundtrack that they've done under the Nine Inch Nails name. So this is really cool. And again, Nine Inch Nails not really strangers to doing soundtracks. Obviously, we know Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross under that moniker have done lots of soundtracks, but Nine Inch Nails have done a lot over the years as well. They did Dead Souls from the Crow soundtrack back in the 90s, The Perfect Drug, which is one of my favorite Nine Inch Nails songs, from the Lost Highway soundtrack in 97. They did the song Deep from the Tomb Raider soundtrack back in the the day, the one that starred Angelina Jolie. So they've kept very busy doing soundtracks and doing various different things, but they're bringing things together. Trent and Atticus and Nine Inch Nails are bringing things together. The soundtrack side of their career with the Nine Inch Nails side of their career. Nine Inch Nails are going on tour very soon, so it's good to have them back. They never really went away, but this is kind of the first real Nine Inch Nails stuff that we've gotten in about 5 years' time. And I saw Nine Inch Nails live once back in 2009 on the Slip tour. One of the best concerts that I've ever been to. The production of the show, along with the sound of the show, it was one of the best concerts that I've ever seen. I don't have tickets to go see them coming up, but I'm really, really looking forward to the new Tron Ares soundtrack. Don't know if I'm going to go see that movie in theaters. Might wait for it to start streaming on Disney Plus to check that out. But this new song, "As Alive as You Need Me to Be," very cool. It starts out with a very hypnotic riff, a little bit like almost like a Stranger Things vibe going on this song, but a very, very cool track, very cool vocal from Trent Reznor. And like I said, this is like a match made in heaven. You got Tron, you got Nine Inch Nails, bringing them together for some electronic mayhem. Looking forward to seeing how the music fits into the movie, but I'm sure it's going to do really, really well. If the movie doesn't do well, at least we know that we're going to get a good soundtrack. But hop in the comments below. Let me know what you think of this new song from Nine Inch Nails, "As Alive as You Need Me to Be." Are you excited for the Tron Ares soundtrack? Are you going to be going to check them out live? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about the return of Nine Inch Nails. But let's get to the last third headliner topic on this edition of the Rock News Roundup podcast, and that is one of my favorite Canadian bands, Big Wreck, have announced that their new album, The Rest of the Story, is coming out on October the 24th through Sonic Onion Records, which is a record label right here in my hometown of Hamilton, Ontario. I'm not sure if they've released anything else on Sonic Onion, but this might be their first release on Sonic Onion Records. It's going to feature 11 brand new Big Wreck tracks, including the new single, Holy Roller, which is available online now. I really like this song. Sometimes with Big Wreck with their new stuff, I find it takes me some time to warm up to some of it. They're a catchy band, but they get a little bit denser with the melodies and the guitar stuff. So sometimes it takes me a couple listens to really get into a Big Wreck song. But this one was very immediate. It's very fast and ferocious rocker. Like this song is like the son of ZZ Top. It's got a little bits of metal in there too. Very, very cool tones. This is produced by Ian Thornley, the lead singer and guitar player of Big Wreck, as well as producer Nick Raskulinitz, who has also produced the new Deftones album. So he's kept very busy, and that's two very different kind of sounds when you have Deftones, one of the heaviest bands out there, and Big Wreck, which is much more on the pop rock, traditional modern rock side of things. But Nick Raskulinitz is a great producer. He's worked with tons of bands in the past, including Foo Fighters and many, many, many bands. So very, very cool to see that he's producing this record. And this new song, Holy Roller, is appropriately guitar heavy. Like when you think about great guitar bands, Big Wreck is one of the best guitar bands out there right now. Ian Thornley, in addition to being an incredibly awesome vocalist, when it comes to his guitar playing, he is second to none. You know, you're always going to get an oral audio treat when you listen to Ian Thornley and Big Wreck. You know that something interesting is going to be happening with the guitars. And this song is appropriately guitar heavy. There's some cool riffs in here, which is what you want to hear from Big Wreck. So I think this is a very, very cool song, Holy Roller. And then the band is going to be going on tour as well with kind of scattered dates across Canada over the next couple of months. They're going to be hitting Kitchener, Woodstock, Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary, Niagara-on-the-Lake, Toronto. And some of those dates are actually opening up for Creed, which is pretty cool. If I was going to see Creed and then Big Wreck was opening up for them, I'd be pretty into that. So that's really, really cool. The only thing I will say about Big Wreck is that they're not going to be breaking out very big at this stage. They've been around for 30 years. I don't really think any new album they have is really going to make them break out and become bigger than they were before. But really, they're one of the most consistent and most solid rock bands out there. I really love the music of Big Wreck. I've loved them going back to their debut in Loving Memory of in 1997. So whenever they announce a new album, I get very, very excited. And they've been very prolific over the last few years as well. They released a number of different EPs, including one that was called Pages back in 2023. And Ian Thornley said that this is actually kind of like a spiritual sequel to that Pages EP, because the album is called The Rest of the Story. So it kind of follows on those EPs that they released over the years. But now they're back to releasing a full record, so I'll definitely be reviewing this one on the channel when it comes out on October the 24th through Sonic Onion. I think this new song, Holy Roller, is pretty badass. I think it's got a lot of great things going on, and it makes me excited for the record, which is what you want from a first single from a record. You want that first single to make you excited about the record and everything coming up. So very excited for the new record from Big Wreck. It's called The Rest of the Story. The new album, or the new song, Holy Roller, is out now. The album's out on October 24th. Let me know in the comments, are you excited about the new album from Big Wreck? If you've ever listened to them before, maybe you've never even heard of Big Wreck, I highly recommend that you check them out. So make sure you let me know your thoughts about Big Wreck in the comments below. But before we wrap up this edition of the Rock News Roundup podcast, I want to give you my tracks of the week, a couple of rock tracks that I'm really loving this week that I want to recommend to you. And my first recommendation this week is the new song from Biffy Clyro, A Little Love. I should have mentioned this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, but Biffy, one of my favorite bands of all time. Oasis obviously is my favorite band of all time, but Biffy Clyro are up there for me. I love Biffy, Mon the Biff. Their new album Futique comes out in September. They released the first single, A Little Love. And again, it's just pure Biffy, right? It's got the guitar heaviness, it's got the riffs in it, it's got a great vocal from Simon Neil, a really catchy chorus that I love. Biffy, I have that tendency to build the tension with the riffs and the verse before breaking out into these huge choruses. And this new song, A Little Love, is very much vintage, classic Biffy. It's just grown on me the more I've listened to it. So that's definitely one of my recommendations this week, courtesy of Biffy Clyro. A Little Love, the new album Futique, comes out in September. My next track of the week is courtesy of another British band that I love called Def Havana, and their song called Lawn Tennis. They have a new record coming out called We're Never Getting Out, and I've dabbled in Def Havana's music over the last couple of years. Songs like Trigger, songs like Sinner. I love a lot of their songs, and they've had a lot of different lineup changes over the years, but it sounds like the brothers who lead the band have kind of got things together. And this new song, Lawn Tennis, it's not really a rockin' song. It's much more of a much more subdued song, but I really love the melody on this song. I love the vocal from lead singer James Vek-Golodi. I said that right. And I think this is going to be a really cool record coming out this fall. There's a lot of really cool records that we can look forward to this fall. So their new record's called We're Never Getting Out. The song's called Lawn Tennis. Again, more of a subdued kind of quiet track, not a big rock track by any stretch, but still really cool. So Def Havana and Lawn Tennis. And then for my final track of the week, I'm going to go back in time and recommend a song from Paul McCartney and Wings. Over the last couple of months, I've been listening to some audiobooks on Spotify, The McCartney Legacy, which talks about Paul McCartney's solo career and with Wings. I know a lot, pretty much everything about the Beatles' solo careers, but I don't really know all the intricate details and every step-by-step beat of the Paul McCartney and Wings story. So I've really been enjoying listening to the Paul McCartney Legacy audiobooks. And so I've been listening to them talk about Venus and Mars and the song called Listen to What the Man Said, which is one of my all-time favorite Paul McCartney and Wings songs. Features a great sax solo, features some other cool instruments in there, a great vocal from Paul, a purely pop, like a pop McCartney composition. I know, back in the day, Paul used to get a lot of flack for not rocking enough, but I think this is one of Paul McCartney's best solo songs from 1975 on the Venus and Mars album. I've been enjoying going back and listening to a lot of those solo McCartney hits from the Wings days, and this is definitely one of my favorites. So Listen to What the Man Said is my last pick for the tracks of the week this week. And that'll do it, guys. That'll do it for this episode of the Rock News Roundup podcast. Thank you very much for listening or watching or wherever you're checking out this podcast. Make sure to hop in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on the topics that we talked about on the show this week: the new Big Wreck album, new music from Nine Inch Nails, and of course the unfortunate loss of Mr. Ozzy Osbourne. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to toss me a like. I'd really appreciate that. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future videos. Make sure to share this video online with your friends and fellow rock fans. You can follow me on social media across platforms at Nick Chino Music, and I'll see you guys again for another episode of the Rock News Roundup podcast. But until then, rock on, everybody.